I was in a bit of a nostalgic mood a couple days ago, and I decided to boot up Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2. I used to play this game a ton last game generation. Actually, I owned it on PlayStation 3 first, and then a little bit later I started playing it on the Xbox 360. And the 360 is clearly the better version. That was a kind of a common theme with last gen. Games, multi-platform games weren't really done well on the PlayStation 3, especially the first few years of the PS3's life cycle. And what I loved about this game is that it also included a number of DLC maps. It included a ton of co-op maps, and probably the best thing about this game is that even if you've completed the campaign on the hardest difficulty like I have, gotten all the campaign achievements, and even though you can't find any games online, obviously nobody's playing this game online anymore, you can still go back and have some fun and play against bots. I used to do the same thing even on the PlayStation 2, a generation before this, on the GameCube, and playing 007 Agent Under Fire against bots. And that's an awesome feature that's not really around anymore. The best that I can think of is maybe Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, not the latest one, but the one that came out a few years ago, the one that remastered Call of Duty 4. And so anyway, this is me doing a horrible job playing the co-op missions on GRAW 2, and I died a lot. It took a while to get used to the controls again. But as you can see, I'm going through my DLC. I'm pretty sure some of it was free, some I may have paid for, but I played through every single one of these missions a ton to get all of the, to try to get all of the Xbox 360 achievements for this game. Unfortunately, that's impossible now. I've gotten most of them. Certainly all the campaign ones, those are pretty straightforward. All the online ones are impossible because they require, besides getting into a match, you have to be in a room that has at least a total of 5 or 6 gamer tags. And if you do find a room, good luck having one that has that many people. I'm sure it's probably possible if you arrange something online on some enthusiast trophy hunting or achievement hunting groups, but kind of a challenge. I tried during this gaming session, couldn't even find a single game. But I still remember just how awesome this game looked back then. I think it still looks kind of good. It's held up. This is with the Xbox One X patch. It's not X enhanced, I don't think. Actually, I'm like 99% sure. It is backwards compatible, obviously, since I'm playing on the Xbox One, but I don't think it has the 4K, the native 4K, like some of these other backwards compatible games have gotten. Hopefully, other games get that treatment when the Xbox Series X comes out. That'd be great if they had a patch for this game that made the gameplay a little bit smoother, because it's pretty choppy. But even still, it's a fun game to play. Playing against these bots, they're pretty dumb. They don't do very much. They are able to detect you really, really quick from really, really far away, which makes it really, really challenging. And here I am just playing by myself, and I still was able to have a good amount of fun. It'd be a lot more fun if I was playing co-op with other people. But it's still a good time. It's still fun. And it made me think about the original Ghost Recon. I absolutely loved that game. I played the original Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon on the PlayStation 2. I remember my friend got it, and we would play it, before, I think we were in 5th grade at the time. We would play that. And there really is nothing like these original Ghost Recon games. Of course, things are a little bit different now. The original Ghost Recon games, which I wish they would kind of do the same style again, it'd be first person, but you couldn't even see your gun, but somehow it worked. It was just fine. Even though, GoldenEye 007 on the N64, you could see your weapon in first person. For whatever reason, maybe to save processing power or RAM or what have you, they decided not to have any of the gun animations. So you just have a reticle. You're just staring at a reticle. Nowadays, Ghost Recon games are basically entirely in third person. I was a huge fan of Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. I tried the sequel to that one, the most recent one, Breakpoint. I really don't like that game. It got a lot of bad reviews, rightfully so. It seemed kind of just way too chaotic. I would have been more than happy with Wildlands having a sequel that just, maybe change the map, have a new locale, different story, and they didn't really have to change too much. I think it was as close to a perfect game as one could probably get. I absolutely love that game, Wildlands. But even that game is very, very different compared to this one. It's very, very fascinating to see how a single game series can change so much from, in just a matter of, 20 years or so. It's completely changed, but it's still managed to keep its feel, at least somewhat. It's not as tactical, I don't think, anymore, although they have drones, and there's like a drone in this game, as you can see in the corner. Wildlands, you rely heavily on the drone and being able to scout out a location. That's really cool. And so the game has changed with the times, just like war has changed with the times. They're using drones now, they're using UAVs, and so they do make good use of that. With this game, it's a little clunky. I wish, they gave you an option to take away the drone. Maybe they do. It's just been a while, but nonetheless, this is a great game. If you haven't played it before, if you're looking for an old classic, I highly recommend it, especially if you have a friend to play with, because there's plenty of co-op achievements that will definitely take up a solid chunk of your afternoon. And I know all of us are looking for things to do now, or at least most of us. And even though the frame rate's a little chunky, it's not really smooth, definitely goes down to 20 FPS, maybe even a little bit lower during some occasions, but it's still a decent looking game. I love that while it doesn't have dynamic weather, it does have dynamic lighting. And what you don't really see is, even though games like Battlefield 1, which I'm a fan of, you'll be playing on multiplayer and they'll have a bunch of clouds going through the map, then all of a sudden you can't be using snipers anymore. You got to basically go close quarters even on an open map because you can't really see very far. What's interesting about this game is they don't just have fogs, a bunch of fog appear. What they do, and maybe you'll be able to notice it in this gameplay, certain levels it's a lot easier to see, or maybe you just got to play a little bit longer to make it more obvious throughout your gameplay. But you'll notice, if you look at the ground, is you will see the shadow of a cloud pass over you. That's something that this game did amazing on. The graphics in single player are, of course, a lot better than on multiplayer. That's a pretty common theme with a lot of console games. And I always thought that was really cool. And another thing I loved about this game is that the single player did a really great job with having God rays. And I always thought the smoke effects were really, really cool with the God rays. I'll be uploading more videos soon of the single player so you can kind of see what I mean. But this game came out in 2007 to the best of my memory, and I just remember being blown away by the graphics. I thought this game was really good. And you get used to it when you go back. I love playing classic games when they upgrade it, when they have like a patch that's compatible with the stronger software or the stronger hardware, and I wish they would do that with this game. But even still, it's a lot of fun to play. I just wish the AI maybe was a little bit smarter, but it's such a great game. And I really hope that future Ghost Recon games, whatever the next Ghost Recon game is, I hope they focus a lot less on the cosmetic things that you could buy, like the loot box type things, and focus more on the core gameplay, like they did with the original. The original Ghost Recon was incredible. You could literally spend anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes or even an hour on just one single level. And you know, that generation, the levels were really, really small. And actually, even on this game, an Xbox 360 game, the levels are hilariously small to today's standard. I played a single player mission, just kind of going through it, and I was done with it in less than 10 minutes, not that big. And the original had some decent size maps. I mean, they weren't detailed, and you wouldn't be able to see, all the way clear across the map on most maps, but it is very interesting going back to some older games, seeing them in a new perspective. And I kind of had that moment here, realizing just how different the AI is, how kind of basic it is. I think even then I wasn't very impressed. But one thing that's really cool, and I'll note of it, maybe you'll be able to see it right now as I'm lying down and giving suppressive fire. But one detail that you don't see so much anymore is having bullet shells fall on the ground and roll around and kind of stick around. The original Halo on Xbox did a great job with this. I love seeing that on the Warthog. You'd be in the turret in the back and you would just see all those bullet shells just bouncing around, and they kind of would stay around for a while. Here it's the same thing. These bullet shells just stay around. I think that's so cool, and they do actually interact with the environment. And I wish more games focused on that. Although in a game like Call of Duty or Battlefield, you're not really as tactical as you are on this kind of game. And I really hope that future games, especially future Tom Clancy games, go back to that squad-based tactical shooting where you're out in the open. Not like, I love Rainbow Six is fine, but there's something different about Ghost Recon where you're outdoors and you're doing these kind of cool military objectives, and you get to see the small things interact. SOCOM Confrontation on the PlayStation 3 did a great job with that as well. Really focused on the tactical combat, and when you would shoot, you would see bullet shells fly around. Another cool feature that game had was if you would get close to somebody online on multiplayer, they could hear you. So if you were speaking in your microphone, they could actually hear you on their TV speakers as you got closer, and you could hear them. And so it really made you mindful in that unique way. Too bad you can't play that game anymore. They shut down the servers, which is a shame. Ironically, the servers for this game are still up. You can still be on the leaderboards. But nonetheless, that's my comments on GRAW 2. Check it out if you haven't. It's a pretty fun game. You can download it or just buy it at your local game store. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and listening to my comments, and I'll see you guys next time.